Welcome to the Bruges Real Estate Academy. In this video, we're going to discuss the mechanics of buying a property. The first thing you need to do when buying a property is to select a property in your selection criteria. And we'll cover selection criteria in detail in other videos, but for this video, we're going to assume that we've selected a property within our criteria. The next step is, once we've selected a property, is to contact the realtor or the seller to take a look at the property. And we're going to call this a home inspection. And this home inspection is not the same as when you buy a house to live in. When you buy a house to live in, one of the things the realtor suggests, and they'll suggest it to you here, is you hire someone to go in and take a look at all the deficiencies in the house you're about to purchase. Now, in our purposes, what we want to do is we want to get our contractor, and you should be working with a contractor if you're buying property, to take a look at the house, and this is the guy who's going to do the work to let you know if there's any deficiencies or anything wrong with the home that you're going to buy, and then to give you an estimate as to how much that work is going to cost. The next item is, once you've done your home inspection, is to check title. Now, this is critically important if you're buying from a wholesaler or if you're buying property on the East Coast. On the East Coast, they have what's called ground rents. It's an old English law, and basically what that means is that you own the house, but you don't own the property underneath the house. The problem is, if you buy a place that's leasehold, what can happen is that no one knows who the ground rent owner is, and then when you try to refinance the property and pull your cash out once you're done with the rehab, the bank won't loan you the money because you have a leasehold property and no one knows who owns the land underneath. This is a problem in Maryland. It's typical, especially in Baltimore. I know in Philly, in some parts of Philadelphia, there's ground rents. I think there's some in Virginia as well. In other parts of the country, say for instance California, if you're buying a home in Palm Springs, in that case, the property is leasehold because you own the home on top of an Indian reservation, and you can't own the land underneath. But there, you know who owns the land underneath, and you can pay them off for 99 years, and the bank will lend to you in that case. But on the East Coast, if no one knows who owns the land underneath, it's problematic when it comes to financing. Okay, after we've done our home inspection and checked the title, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make our offer. And we'll go over making an offer in detail in future videos, but what our offer is going to be based off of is the home inspection and if there's any title work to be done. And we're going to add contingencies in our offer so that if the title work isn't favorable, we won't buy the property, or if there's some other unforeseen instance, we can get out of buying the property. All right. And the reason why that's so important, the reason why contingencies are so important, is because when we make our offer, we're going to also pay a deposit at the same time. And this deposit can range from $500 to $5,000. if if we're asked, and sometimes you are asked, well, what do you think the deposit would be, especially if you're buying from a bank. Set my recommendation would be to set the deposit as low as you can, just because you're working off the principle you're trying to tie up as little as your own cash as possible. So you want to have the deposit on the low end instead of the high end. But once you'd pay your deposit, and if you don't allow yourself contingencies in that sales contract, you can lose your deposit to the seller if you don't buy the property. So when you pay the deposit, you want to make sure that you're going to buy the house if the seller will give you your terms. All right. Assuming we made a good offer, the seller typically will give us a counter offer. And when most people think of a counter offer, you think of, well, if the house is $50,000, I'm only going to give the guy $30,000. The price is definitely a big aspect, but it's not the only aspect. There's closing costs. There's property taxes that are rolled up into closing. There's settlement costs. There's transfer tax, and each settlement company differs. So, part of making an offer, you should really research that stuff ahead of time to know exactly what your costs are going to be, and you can figure all that out. And then maybe if the seller won't meet your price, maybe they'll offer to pay half of the taxes for the year, or maybe they'll cover the closing costs, because that's a cost as well. And that'll be hammered out in your negotiation. So you're gonna negotiate. You'll offer a counter offer, they'll counter it, and then once the buyer and seller have agreed on a price and all the terms, then you'll go to what's called settlement. And at settlement, the buyer, the seller, and the money come together. The seller, obviously, he gets the money. The buyer gets the deed to the property, and then the buyer, the title company, will take that deed and record it with the county office of land records. So that concludes the mechanics of home buying video. Hopefully we'll see you in the next video.